Hi, good morning, everybody.
Hiya.
Moss and Judy, welcome to Moss. That's the title, right?
What, welcome to Moss.
Sometimes I forget.
Okay.
Anyway, glad to see you guys again. Hope you're tuning in. If not, hopefully you'll catch it when it's rebroadcast. So this is a series. We just finished a series not too long ago on knots and tangles, how couples or people in relationships really screw things up and get themselves in a tangle, in a knot. But recently, over the last month and a half, I think, maybe longer, we've been talking about the building the emotional bond. Okay, what couples, people who do well in relationships seem to do more often than not. And it falls into two buckets that we talked about before. One is when there's an upset or a disappointment, they have a way of handling it where it's more seamless. It doesn't have all the knots and the misery. Okay.
Good if you can avoid it.
If you can avoid it, that's good. Yeah, misery. Pain, a little pain's okay, but misery, no. Don't have to suffer. And the other bucket, besides how they handle upsets and disappointments, is what are they adding to the emotional bank account? What are they doing to enhance their relationship? Well, I just briefly want to check something out with you.
Yeah.
You know the word recalcitrant?
Recalcitrant.
Yeah.
I am familiar with that word.
What do you think it means?
I think when somebody's recalcitrant, they're sort of stuck
Yeah.
in a position.
Okay.
Right? They're not really open to maybe altering their point of view or the way they're behaving. It feels like resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. So, very briefly, I have two couples I'm seeing. Both are father-son, and the son's working the father's business, and the sons are very, very competent. But the father, both fathers grew up with very authoritarian, strict, do it my way, the highway, not interested in how you feel. I'm not curious about it. Just do the job. If you don't, you're a loser. And they both grew up with these very severe beliefs, tough, and they're passing it on to their sons. So it's a recalcitrant pattern that I see. I see them definitely in the businesses between business partners, and I think we both see it in relationships of our patients. You think that's true? Recalcitrant?
Now that I think about it, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but yeah. I have noted that with some people.
Yeah. So that's the way of the introduction. Sometimes people come and they're very stuck, as Judy says. They're very recalcitrant, as I say, in their position, and they have a hard time handling disappointments and upsets in a more compatible way, more humanistic maybe, or giving each other compliments or acknowledgments. They just do not do it. They do not give each other positive comments.
Well, is that because they think if their son, for instance, has done something they want them to do or they expected them to do, that they have no need because you're just doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So why should I compliment you on that, or why should I give you a pat on the back for that?
Yeah. Now, I think that's a pretty common belief. Just do your job, and as long as you do your job well, and you're not fired, and you get paid, you're okay. Stay out of trouble. Instead of acknowledging their sons for the little things. Say, thanks for that presentation in the sales meeting. It really added some value. I think I learned something. I think our other managers may have learned something too. Good job. They just don't do that. They don't do the attaboy. At least my two.
Right. And are you saying also in couples sometimes it doesn't happen either? We just sort of take for granted the things that our partners are, quote, supposed to do.
Yeah.
How we don't think that we have to note that and say, thanks for taking out the garbage, even if we've agreed that you're the person who takes the garbage out.
Right. But somehow the agreement, if we have an agreement, I don't have to acknowledge.
That negates any responsibility or obligation, or I don't even know the right word to use, but generosity. Yeah.
So I think that's what we're talking about today. The topic of today for contributing to the emotional bank account, whether that's father-sons in businesses, mother-daughters, and I know you've done family business consulting too, and you probably have seen this too.
Oh, I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, right. And we see
particularly in business, I think.
Yeah.
But also in marriages.
Yeah.
And also with parents and kids.
Exactly.
I mean, there are parents who feel that they don't really need to acknowledge
Yes.
if their child or their teenager has done something right, because that's just what they're
Right,
expected to do.
Right.
So you don't get any, accolades for that.
Like thanking a little kid for bringing dishes to the sink.
Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, when our grandchildren do it, I think we do. I try to be conscious of it and say, "Hey, Connor, thanks for bringing the dishes over. I appreciate it."
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, the topic today is to keep sight of the positive. Keep sight of the positives, because what research has shown, again, according to the work of Brent Atkinson, 10 Habits of Highly Successful Couples, in successful relationships, the couples are much more aware of the positive things that happen in their relationships, and they acknowledge them more often. For example, the husband, if he's working, might call up during the day and say, I know sometimes the kids can be a real hassle. How you doing? Thanks for taking care of the kids. Do you need anything? It's like showing a caring receptivity and appreciation that although the wife might not be getting paid, she's doing something that allows the husband to go out and make the money. So it's not, don't take it for granted.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Like the wife, you calling me up and doing what?
No. Like sometimes it's
a
me. Wife who goes out and earns a living, and the husband who's home with the kids in the household, and so it works both ways.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been working more from home lately because of the COVID.
Yeah.
And I've really grown to like working from home. So I go in maybe 1 or 2 afternoons a week to see live people. At home, I see live people over this, and I like it a lot. I become a homebody, but I really, really notice something. I think I've always appreciated your work ethic and how steady you are. I think you deserve the Lou Gehrig Award.
What is that?
You just keep coming back to the game after game.
I see.
So if I've not acknowledged
no matter what you do.
Yeah. So I really appreciate your perseverance and what you do to take care of me.
You're welcome.
So in distressed partnerships, partners underestimate the positive by over 50%.
Wow.
They underestimate it by 50%. Huge deficit.
I think also something that ties in with this is that we know that it takes 5 to 10 positive interactions between two people before one of them is even open to listening to maybe some negative feedback.
Wow.
So you have to do an awful lot of positive reinforcement, appreciation before your partner can really hear you if you have, a complaint or a request or something that they're going to have to put some extra effort into doing.
So let's assume, for the most part, our clients, the people we know, are good-willed.
Yeah, I assume
they don't get out of bed thinking they're going to make their children miserable or their spouses miserable.
Right.
Why do you think it is then? 80% of the time, they tend to be more negative than positive, and only 20% of the time they're complimenting and acknowledging each other.
Well, I think at least a chunk of it has to do with just the way the human brain works. That historically, in order for us to survive, we had to always be on the lookout for what wasn't right.
I see.
What was wrong, what was different, so that we were always on alert because our lives depended on it. And I think our brain is set up to notice what isn't going the way we expect it to, or what looks like it's wrong somehow. And I think in modern day that translates to we're always looking out there, whether we realize it or not, for what our spouse or our children or the situation isn't doing what's right in our view, or isn't safe.
So the general thing, I'm going to call it the sentry in our brain, like
the sentry,
little guy in our brain with binoculars looking out for danger.
The sentry.
The sentry. What did you think I said?
Century.
Okay, a sentry.
I misunderstood.
This is a metaphor. It's not real. I'm not crazy.
Okay.
But imagine there's a sentry in the back of your mind, the primitive brain, with very big binoculars, and it picks up anything that's moving. And the instructor, the commander, had given the sentry, 100,000, 200, 1 million years ago, is shoot anything that moves. Anything that moves could be a danger. Run away or kill it. So that's all the sentry sees. So it doesn't know in the 21st century, this is the 21st century, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. In the 21st century, there's a lot of stuff that bothers us. Missing a subway, getting a tax bill, losing a presentation. None of this is life or death. But according to the century, he sees negative movement out there by feeling your nervous energy, you're upset. And that sends an alert to that part of the brain who now communicates to the whole brain, danger, danger. So
then we're primed to attack.
Exactly.
Attack.
Right.
But instead of, rushing up and smacking you, if I see you didn't do something I think is right, I criticize you.
Yeah, being very judgmental, critical.
Right.
I can't believe you did this again. How many times have I told you? I mean, how frequently do we hear parents saying that to kids? What are you laughing at?
Because I have an example just from today of so I went to the sink, and every night you make yourself a martini and you sort of wash out the martini shaker and you leave it there to dry, right?
Yes.
And I pick up the martini shaker to put it away, and it's sticky on the outside. And I say to myself, why does Moss never wash the outside of the martini shaker, right? And I thought to myself, and you were coming downstairs,
right.
And I thought to myself, am I going to say something about this, or am I just going to wash it and let it go? Which was what I decided to do.
I see, very gracious, generous.
Instead of immediately jumping on top of you.
Exactly.
So it's that's an example of how I could have, I could have been critical, right? And why am I critical? Only because it's not the way I like it.
Right.
I don't even use the martini shaker.
Right. And who asked you to put it away?
And nobody.
I got another idea about the martini.
And what's that?
Shaker. You could say to me.
I should learn to make martini for you.
And that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
You could look inside the martini shaker and say, "Oh my God, Morse is so clean."
I could. That never occurred to me. That's like going an extra step.
Yeah.
Looking for something that's right.
Yeah.
Which we could do. I mean, that's a thing that you can set yourself to doing. I'm going to look for things that my partner has done, right, in the sense of I like it.
It's another good example. Funny.
Yeah.
I think a good example is, let's say one member of the relationship was on the phone a lot, iPhone. Mm-hmm. We don't have a home phone anymore, do we?
We don't.
We don't. We have a regular little iPhone.
Right.
But let's say one of us, probably me more than you, are again on the phone talking to friends. Mm-hmm. Now, one could say, how come you're on the phone again? You're always on the phone. You're never off the phone. You have more of a relationship with the phone than you do me. Now, those just come right off the top of my tongue. Didn't have to think about that. Okay? Mm-hmm. But how could you, this is good, how could you turn shit into manure? How can you turn that complaint into an acknowledgement about what I'm doing?
Oh. Honey, I think it's so great that you keep up with your friends.
Perfect.
You actually put effort into maintaining and enhancing your friendships. Because I notice how often you'll think to call a friend or to text them. I notice that. Yeah. And I just want you to know, I think that's a great quality. Yeah.
Now that is really brilliant, because she's doing something I do anyway. I'm not going to stop it, particularly if she's critical, because I don't like to be told what to do like most of us. But she turned shit into manure. I really admire you. I want to acknowledge you. And she said it softly. She did it with a soft startup. Look at the love and affection in her eyes. It's so adorable.
You are so lucky.
However, now if she lays the ground that way, she could then make a request. Because maybe under her silent complaint, she has a desire. So let's say the desire is, we're having dinner and you don't want me to be on the phone. You want my company. Mm-hmm. So after you lay that out, the compliment, noticing how comfortable and how successful I am, how can you now turn that internal complaint into an external request?
Oh, well then it would be easy, because I could just say to you, sweetie, I would really love it if you put your phone away during dinner, so you and I can be together.
Yeah. Now, when
would you be willing to do that?
Yeah. Now, but based upon three things: a soft approach, Number two, acknowledging what I do well first.
Yeah.
And then making a request rather than a demand. I feel very comfortable with that. It touches me, makes sense.
So I haven't threatened you in any
No,
way, and haven't
no.
castigated you,
Right,
and told
right,
you you're
right,
bad and
right,
wrong, and what's the
right.
matter with you, that you're on your phone all the time,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What occurs to me about this whole approach is
Yes.
it does take a lot of thoughtfulness.
Yes, it does.
You really have to think about not just what you're saying, but if you're going to intentionally look for things your partner's doing
Yes,
right,
yes.
and let them know that you appreciate that, or you admire that, or you respect that, then you have to be paying attention
Right.
in a very conscious kind of way.
So this doesn't come naturally for most of us.
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, there may be some people for whom it
Yeah.
does. You know, some people have like an easier flow in their
Mhm.
personality. But if you're a person who, let's say, is raised by a father, the type that you were
Yes.
speaking of earlier, whatever, if you're raised in a home like that, then it's going to take quite a bit
Yeah.
of intentionality to
Yes.
start to use those, what I'll call skills.
Yes. It's interesting, going back to those two dads and their sons who I'm working with, they now have an awareness. They know they're doing it. And they have an intentionality not to do it as much. But they're also realistic. They say, look, it's been in our family for 2 generations, maybe 3. So I'm going to work on it, but I hope my son or my father, but particularly my son, doesn't expect me to change overnight. This is hard for me.
Well,
this is what I was taught.
Right, it takes 2 people, because if the father's saying this and the son is hearing him say that, this is my intention.
Yes.
All right, and I hope that you'll be, you know, a little flexible, or you'll understand that maybe I'll miss opportunities because this is a whole new thing for me.
Right.
But, you know, I'm working on this. This is the path I want to walk. Then I think there's also something the son can do, which is,
Yes.
number one, notice when his dad is doing this new behavior,
And
and let him
acknowledge
know,
it.
wow, Dad,
Yeah,
that
thanks,
meant a
Dad.
lot to me.
Yeah, that's
right,
good.
or I
Find
know
the
you're really
positive.
trying, Dad, or whatever.
Right.
So I think it works both ways.
The other thing that we have to wrap up, the son could do, which I think is a very loving gesture, a good contribution to the emotional relationship account, is when things cool down. Don't sweep the incident under the rug. Say the father lost it. He got directive. But you know his intention because he stated it to you. You can always go back to the dad, do a soft startup. Hey, Dad, I want to run something by you. I know you have an intention, that you don't want to treat me like your father treated you. And I really appreciate that. And you've been doing really well in most times. But something happened yesterday that really seemed to knock down the construction we were building. I felt like you really took a shot at me. And I'm just wondering, are you annoyed with me, angry with me? Are you being judgmental, or are you just bothered by something? So you can come back the next day to clarify, which is curiosity. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a very good idea. Because then you have both people
Yes.
in the relationship
Taking responsibility.
working on, you know, more positives from each of them.
Right, right.
More acknowledgement, more understanding,
Yeah.
more coming from a place of my dad or my son is not trying to upset me. Even if they did something
Give them the
that I got
benefit of the
upset,
doubt.
absolutely the benefit
Based
of the
upon
doubt.
his
Right.
stated intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like now we're in baseball season. It's close to the middle of March. And in baseball, as most of you know, the batter gets at-bats, maybe 3-4 times a game. So these are at-bats, giving other people opportunities to be acknowledged.
Oh, nice analogy.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So you gotta get up in the plate. You gotta swing at the ball. So you have to find opportunities to get at bat. So, sweetie, have a good day today.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for doing this with me.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Okay, find some people to acknowledge and appreciate.
Okay. I'm going to pass this information along to all my couples.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we only have 2 more of these topics of building the emotional relationship. 2 more. Then we're done with this phase. And then we got to figure out what are we going to do next.
Okay.
Okay. Are we still going through the divorce? Okay. All right, guys.
Have
Be
a great
well.
day.
Have a great day. Get it back and find something positive to tell somebody. Acknowledge everybody.